Hello, welcome to R&B Reviews. I am Rob, and today we're going to be reviewing the movie The Batman. And today I'm joined by two very special guest reviewers. You might have seen them on the channel before. We've got Darren and Jerry.
Greetings.
What? Whoa, wait a minute. This isn't...
It's not time?
No, it's not. What? This is a DC movie we're reviewing. You're dressed like Doctor Strange from Marvel, and is that a Carnage shirt, Jerry?
Right, we're Marvel fans.
Yeah. Okay, well, you know what? This is a DC movie we're reviewing. You two are improperly dressed, so you guys need to change into the proper attire if we're going to talk about the Batman movie, okay?
If we must.
Yes, you must. Okay, after the opening, I'll make sure that these two are dressed appropriately for our review of the anticipated Batman movie. Stay tuned.
You'll all come back now.
Okay, now that I got them properly dressed here, I got them in a Superman and Batman outfit. Now we can do our review. Now we can do a review of The Batman. So basically, after a negative reaction to Ben Affleck's Batman during DC's extended universe, DC and Warner Brothers is presenting another take on the classic character. Now, originally, Batman was supposed to be Ben Affleck's solo movie after Justice League, with also him serving as the director, but Ben Affleck ended up dropping out of both, and director Matt Reeves, who also directed the last two Planet of the Apes movies from a few years ago, as well as Cloverfield, as well as actor Robert Pattinson, stepped in, and Reeves co-wrote this new script. This story is in a rundown Gotham City. A sadistic serial killer who calls himself the Riddler begins murdering key political figures and leaves cards strictly for the Batman. Batman, a vigilante, joins forces with Commissioner Gordon to investigate the city's hidden corruption that also involves a small-time gangster named Oz, aka the Penguin, while also dealing with a cat burglar named Selina. My initial reaction when I went to get my movie tickets for this movie, well, our movie tickets, and I wanted to see how long the movie was, and I saw that it was like almost 3 hours, and I'm like, 3 hours? It better be worth it. But again, the Eternals was almost 3 hours, and Spider-Man was pretty long too, the recent Spider-Man. So I was like, it better be worth it. And in my opinion, I think it was. So let's go ahead and get started on our reaction of the movie. I should also mention this is not an origin story, and it does mention that he is a vigilante. And I gotta say, I liked this take on Batman very much. If I could say, if Batman was a real life character, this would probably what it would be like. This isn't a comic book Batman movie that we're used to, like with Michael Keaton or Batman the Animated Series. He is vulnerable, and he is not some superhero type of movie.
Well, I was expecting a superhero movie. Okay, usually you buy tickets to Batman. He's a superhero. I thought it really played out as like a dark drama with lackluster romance. I mean, the chemistry between Zoe Kravitz and Robert Pattinson was just not there for me. Not just not like how it was like with Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer back in the day. I thought the villains were very, very dark and demented, a little bit too dark for the DC universe in some instances.
Okay.
What I really loved about it was just two main characters really brought it home for me, and that was Commissioner Gordon, played by the brilliant Jeffrey Wright, and Andy Serkis as Alfred. I thought those were wonderful takes on the characters. What I did not really like about this Batman, it really does not follow the story of the comics, and I got a big problem with that, me being a all-around superhero fanboy, whether it be the Marvel Universe or the DC Universe. It was supposed to be based on Frank Miller's 1986 Batman costume, and they just kind of like reinvented the wheel again and revamped Batman as far as I'm concerned. There was really no comic relief in this movie. It was just dark, doom and gloom all the way around. It had a lot of scenes where I think it borrowed from other movies, like The World of Tomorrow and just the whole flood scenario. I mean, it's just all been done before. Titanic. I mean, it brought me back to those movies rather than being something original. That's definitely what the Batman is not. I really love Jim Carrey, like from Batman Forever. He will always be my favorite Riddler. And even like how you said, like Batman the Animated Series. If they could follow that cartoon, same as like the X-Men. That's how the X-Men got ruined. You know, if they could follow that cartoon, I mean, we would have just such dynamite characters in a Dynamite movie. This just didn't bring it home for me.
Okay, well, this shouldn't be a shocker. I kind of disagree with you on a lot of what you just said.
Really?
Yeah. I liked this different take. I liked how, now a lot of people thought the Dark Knight trilogy was realistic. This is more realistic than that, if you can imagine there. Commissioner Gordon is teaming up with Batman almost like on the side. He's not publicly hanging out with him, and he's not trusting the city to him. Like the police force don't like him. They don't like he's a vigilante. They don't trust him. And I liked that. I kind of agree with you about Selina Kyle's character played by Zoe Kravitz.
Okay.
But I liked how this was like for example, the Riddler. Yeah, he's not the Frank Gorshin Jim Carrey character. He's a serial killer, and I liked his backstory about why he's doing what he's doing and how it parallels to Bruce Wayne. And what's kind of interesting is in some scenes when Bruce Wayne is out by himself, those same police officers and people are like, "Oh, Mr. Wayne," but when he's Batman, he's like, "Oh, you freak! why are you even here? You're a vigilante." And I liked how this city of Gotham City is portrayed like a rundown, decaying metropolitan city, whether it's like a Chicago, a New York, or an LA, and the crime and homelessness and people being bitter. I loved that aspect. Yeah, there's no comic relief, I'll grant it to you, but I mean, I don't think it was necessary. I think it would have stuck out like a sore thumb.
See, I disagree with that. I mean, you got the Riddler in there. He's a very funny character, kind of like the Joker.
Well, the Joker's dark too. Look at Heath Ledger's Joker.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, there was even a little bit of comic relief in there, but you really felt for him in that movie. Granted, I did not see it in theaters, but I did see it later, and it held together pretty well, the Joker for me. But I mean, I just missed that whole like comical aspect with the Riddler. I didn't like that he was a serial killer. I just love that scene in Batman Forever. Riddle me this, riddle me that. Who's afraid of the big black bat? I mean, I love that. That to me is Riddler.
Jerry, what's your take?
So overall, I did enjoy the movie. After listening to both of you, I definitely agree with a lot of both of your aspects. But with me, I didn't really go into it with the mindset of it being a comic book movie or if it was being dark. I just tried to go into it with, kind of like a blank slate. I saw a lot of the previous Batman movies. It's been a while. I enjoyed all of those. I've also, dabbled in the comics a little bit.
Yeah.
But like I said, I kind of just wanted to go into this with a blank slate. Overall, I thought it was enjoyable. I did miss some of the comedic aspects, like some of the previous Batman movies did have.
Yeah.
Even like with the Joker and the pencil, even though it was dark, there was still like a slight comedic twist
I don't know.
in the Dark Knight trilogy.
It just would have been such a nice contrast. You said it would stick out like a sword.
And in this movie, I do have to agree with that, because with this take, it was definitely more of like a dark aspect. They pretty much were basing the Riddler as the Zodiac Killer.
Yeah.
I feel like if they did try to incorporate some sort of comedic effect in that, I think it would have just taken it away, at least in this Riddler's form.
All right, with all the dark aspects and everything going on, why make a Batman movie that's not a superhero movie?
Well,
why just
because
go
we've
into
gotten it
another
already.
movie?
We've gotten it already. We've gotten it with the Ben Affleck movies, the Michael Keaton movies, the Christopher Nolan movies with Christian Bale. It's time to do something fresh and a different take to it. Now, I thought this is more of a detective movie. Like he's and even like you said, there are some fights in this movie. Maybe not as much But I mean, I imagine if this was a real world situation, like when Batman goes after the Penguin, played wonderfully by Colin Farrell, this is what it would be like. It's not, there's no backflips, it's like actual fighting and car chases.
Yeah.
Good, and also he's a detective, kind of like trying to solve what's going on and putting all this together. This is like, we've gotten a lot of reboots from Batman out of more than like Spider-Man and whatever. It's time to try something different, and I think it does work. And also, after Robert Pattinson's Batman is done fighting, unlike Michael Keaton or Batman the Animated Series, where okay, in 5 minutes he's fine again. No, you see the bruises, you see the scars, and there's even one scene where he's chasing somebody and he falls and he gets hurt. Yeah. He doesn't like jump on 1 feet like you would see with Michael Keaton, and he's okay. I do have some nitpicks with this movie because the first 20 minutes I had a hard time getting into it. Like the first major scene when the first victim is killed and they're investigating the scene, there were like all these long pauses between lines. I'm like, it was like the Eternals for me all over again. I'm like, please don't let the whole 3 hours be like that. And luckily, once the mystery took off, it took off. To me, it's like a film noir where it's a small part, but there's a bigger picture at hand. It talks about corruption. It talks about trust. It talks about how a good man can be bad in the right situation, as I think Alfred says. So I thought it was definitely refreshing. And like I said, you didn't recognize Colin Farrell as the Penguin, and that's to me a good sign of great acting. Now, I think I would have liked Paul Dano's Riddler a little bit more if they didn't publicize that it was him, because when I was watching his scenes, I'm like, I know who this is. Another nitpick that I did have with this movie is after a while, I was like, I figured out how the Riddler's involved, and I'm like, okay, just hurry up, let's just get this over with. But for the most part, I like this take.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Dano was just incredibly awesome. Just when he took the mask off, I just think just ever since 2020, I'm just so tired of just seeing people with masks, really. And in the upcoming Batgirl movie, I actually saw footage, screenshot today, and Brendan Fraser's, he's going to be playing Firefly, and he almost looks just like the Riddler. So already they're kind of like copying off of each other. And I don't know, but it's interesting that you said the whole just the whole detective, like how it played out like a detective drama, because that's actually what DC Comics is. Detective Comics.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting that you said that, and a lot of people don't know that.
I thought the fight scenes and the choreography, I thought that was really well done, filmed. There were certain parts where he was fighting everyone in the dark, the gun was going off, and you could see like the flash, the gun, and you could see the fighting, that stops, and he's fighting more in the dark. I thought that was really well put together. A lot of the fight scenes, like you said, a lot of it was more realistic, where instead of him getting knocked down and jumping right back up, you could tell he was more of a human. Same thing with when he was diving off of the building after the police was chasing him, and he had the wingsuit. He actually jumped off. He was doing really well. He was trying to go under this underpass and clipped it, and he just ended up tumbling, going down. It showed a little bit more of the human aspect of Batman, which in some ways, it's kind of a bummer since he is a superhero.
Yeah, and that's probably what I really didn't like. He's a superhero, he's supposed to be
100%.
Yeah.
But at the same time, with the context of what the movie was, I was more based in, normal reality. Like
this is also a smarter movie. A smarter Batman movie.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they put that together like anybody could be Batman, really. But I just don't want to see.
Well, I don't know about anyone, but with Robert Pattinson, I think he did a decent job with that, because they didn't really show any of the backstories. They didn't really like that build up or anything like that.
And he didn't really show that much emotion. I mean, I basically thought
except when he's angry.
Well, except when he's angry, but I mean, it was basically like Edward Cullen, in a Batman suit. I mean, he didn't stray too far from his Twilight character.
But would you say that Batman portrays a lot of emotion, or would you say that's more like Bruce Wayne, or what would you say?
Well, I mean, he definitely doesn't portray that much emotion, but I mean he does have his he's more noble and like smart, and I mean I didn't really get that from even like when he was just his scenes with Alfred.
Yeah.
I mean I didn't even think I even saw the Batcave.
Yeah, that's where his computer stuff
Yeah,
was.
but he just like drove into it. It was different than some of the other movies.
Yeah.
Where it was more like hidden. And that is interesting because I do agree with the nobility aspect, but I feel they purposely did that, and then they were leaning more towards the end to him realizing he needed to be more in vengeance when he took down that one guy. He said that himself.
Yeah.
I think it dawned and he was like, okay, I need to be a little bit more noble.
Yeah.
I think they were
Right.
like, they purposely made
Right.
it that way so he can realize that in the end.
Yeah, and also,
And that's when he went to go save everyone.
yeah, and Batman, and even Batman in the opening monologue says he can't be everywhere because, you know, in the Michael Keaton, and I think even the Christian Bale and Batman animated series, it's like he's everywhere. And even in the beginning, he even admits he can't be everywhere, and then, you know, he comes out of the shadow, and I like how even then, when Commissioner Gordon does have the Batlight out there, everybody, gang members, criminals, when they see that, they still have the fear in them.
Then that was pretty good.
Yeah, and I liked how there's parallels between you know how a traumatic event shaped Batman and the Riddler. When you find out why he is what he is, how society and, you know, politicians and the government let everybody down and caused a big problem. I loved, again, it's a smart mystery thriller, very enthralling to me, and I liked the whole, you know, like it's, like, I think it's relatable now because people aren't trusting government officials right now, and I think, you know, and there's a lot of, you know, corruption that we've seen here and there in the news, so I think it's very relatable, and of course accountability is definitely a big thing right now, not just with government but with businesses as well.
Okay. And one other point I wanted to make was that it wasn't an origin story, but I wouldn't say that this was Batman at his prime. I would say it's kind of like right after the origin this would take place, where he still had a lot of character development to do, a lot of growth to achieve in order to become that top prime Batman that we see in the comics.
Yeah. Again, I just don't like that they revamped the story again. I don't think that this was the smartest take on Batman. I love the Dark Knight series. Christian Bale will always be my favorite Batman. I mean, George Clooney was okay, Michael Keaton was okay, but I mean, I really loved that, and I loved how they were going to make like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Robin, or Nightwing, yeah. I mean, and why didn't they just go with that? It was just so awesome. Like, I didn't even like the design of the Batmobile. To me, it just looked like a
big, in this one?
souped up
in this
car.
One, or in Dark Knight?
This one.
This one? Okay.
It was a nice car, but it wasn't like the Batmobile.
It wasn't the Batmobile.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, the car chase, I mean, I thought that scene kind of like really needed work.
Yeah. I
liked it. And I liked how, again, with that was a very, there's some, like Spider-Man, there's some good crowd pleaser scenes that, you know, you could just tell the fans were like, wow! You know, like they did with Spider-Man. You could definitely, like, that was a good crowd pleaser scene.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Especially when he was like walking up when the Penguin was in the turned over car. I know a lot of people were like, oh wow,
I mean,
that's epic.
I just had a problem that like there was just so much downtime in this movie.
No, I don't think
for
so.
me.
No.
I mean, I wanted to close my eyes. Granted, it definitely was late at night. We saw a late night showing.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. I think it was worth the 3 hours. I mean, except for maybe the beginning, there's very little that I can think of that I would say, you know, that scene needed to go or that didn't need to be there. It all kind of added up together. I think so.
See,
I think it was worth the 3 hours.
Yeah, I just disagree. It could have been
Were
such
there
a
any
more shorter movie, and I had trouble just sitting through like some parts. It just wasn't all there for me. The action was not all there for me.
Was there any specific part that you feel they could have like left out or like changed for the better?
Why put a romance between Zoe Kravitz and Robert Pattinson.
It's traditional,
but
but Batman
it
can't
didn't
really fall in
work.
love. Yeah, I do agree.
I don't
That's
know.
not the best chemistry.
It was horrible chemistry.
I've seen better between Adam West and Julie Newmar, but I mean, I get that. I will probably
It's
agree
horrible
with.
chemistry. I think I would have liked to see a little bit more of just the Riddler's agenda, how he just turned so evil. Like even
Well,
even Jim Carrey wasn't even like that. He was a disgruntled employee, but I mean he seemed to just like be just a terrorist.
well,
you know?
I mean,
think
you
they
get an
did.
idea of why he became the way he is. I mean,
He was an orphan.
I felt like there was enough information. I mean, yeah, they didn't go into great detail, but I thought there was enough information to go for there.
The Riddler was there that day, actually got to see Bruce, heard about Bruce's parents being murdered, and there was definitely this envy there. He was just like, oh, you're not an orphan. You got to stay in your big mansion with your butler, all this money. There was this envy towards Bruce Wayne, which kind of led him more towards who and what he became.
He kind of paid homage to Jigsaw and Saw because like he put them in like different contraptions. I'm like, this is Saw. This is like borrowed from Saw. See, they just borrowed so many different.
The Zodiac killer.
Yeah, I mean, it just was all put into this character, and I just feel like we've seen it before. And what I didn't like is it just like, God, what was Gotham based in? Like Seattle? I mean, it constantly rained.
Yeah.
They would constantly see Batman in the rain. It was cool, like at one time, that he did it, but they kept on reusing it over and over again.
Well, I mean, I thought that Gotham City is a decaying, gray, dark city. So I mean, I thought that the rain kind of helped.
Like sets the ambience.
Yeah, I mean, and one other nitpick there, without giving too much away, there is a scene later in the movie, and I'm kind of on the fence about this. It kind of shows, if they make another Batman movie, who the next villain could be. They introduce a character. The reason why I'm on the fence is because I kind of see this almost as like a standalone Batman movie. You see a lot of superhero movies, especially with Marvel, where they introduce a character and they end up playing a big role in the next film, and I felt like it was kind of cheap a little bit. So I mean, I don't know how they're going to top this. I mean, granted, the second Dark Knight movie, they topped Batman Begins. I mean, but you have to. Now you're going to have to top this one, can't you?
All right, but there's already 3 spin-offs in the work based on this Batman, and it doesn't even, I don't think even revolve around the Batman character. I think they're going to do like one with the Joker again, and that's another thing. Just, I mean, if we're gonna get into spoilers here, I didn't know whether that was Two-Face or the Joker. And Barry Cohen, he was supposed to reprise that role with the Joker.
Yeah, I mean, people in the audience were debating that. I think it's the Joker because
His
his dialogue.
His face was so deformed though, like where it could be Two-Face.
Yeah.
And I mean that has been a discussion on like Twitter and TikTok and all that. Like who was that character, because like he was originally slated to play the Joker. And we didn't even get that. And supposedly there was a credit scene that was cut explaining that, or there was a scene in the movie that was cut where Batman was going to him for like advice, and Matt Reeves like really wanted them to work together, and that would have been interesting, to take down the Riddler, but then he changed his mind and he was like friends with him. So I don't really get it. I mean, it just parts were just really confusing to me and just did not hold together well. And I know everybody's just raving about this movie, and I just don't see it. Maybe it's just the prime Marvel fan in me. I mean, to me, DC has a lot of work to do to keep up with Marvel.
Well, I think here they did it. I mean, after the falling apart with Batman versus Superman and Justice League, I think they're finally getting their act together.
Yeah. So,
Well, I mean, if this Batman is going to lead the Justice League with my man, Superman, he got a lot of work to do.
And Jerry, what were you saying?
two things with that. I know that the director of this Batman movie, he just wants to leave this in Gotham. He doesn't actually want to incorporate Superman or any of the Justice League. He just wants to keep it as Batman.
Okay.
And when I was going into this movie, I didn't really have any comparisons in mind to any previous movies. I was kind of viewing this as a standalone film, kind of like how Joker was, the Joker movie. And when I came at it through that perspective, yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was, like a darker detective movie.
Right.
Now with the aspect of either, Two-Face or the Joker, that one scene,
Yeah.
definitely did throw things off a little bit.
I didn't know who the hell he was.
Yeah, exactly.
I really didn't.
I kind of feel like they just kind of incorporated that just to, show the possibility that there could be a second movie in the future, but I don't really want to apply that scene, because that was 2 minutes. I don't want to judge an entire movie on that couple of minute scene.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean, these were combined villains. I mean, I
Yeah.
saw a little bit of Bane in the Riddler. Even the Penguin, he almost reminded me of Two-Face too.
Yeah.
A little bit. It was just they were combining different aspects of the villains
these
in one.
these
It was
characters,
strange.
these characters are not like what we're used to. If you look at the 1966 was more, the characters were more cartoony and kind of
one-dimensional.
One-dimensional. Like for example, in the TV show, you don't know how the Riddler, or the Joker, or the Penguin became who they are. They're already there, and every episode the Joker escapes, and then Batman has to find him and fight him and put him back in prison. One thing I did miss, it's a minor issue, the Penguin doesn't have his cigarette lighter, and I saw an article that Colin Farrell fought to have a cigar, but the filmmakers are like, no, we don't want smoking in movies anymore because of kids, and that's something that happened with the movie Cruella with Emma Stone, but this is not a kid's movie.
Exactly.
This is definitely for grown-ups,
No,
so
it's not.
who cares if somebody's smoking?
And that's another thing that I worry about the Riddler. I mean, it was just so realistic to the world of today. Are these villains going to put ideas in people's heads on what to do?
I think that's touched upon at the last act of the movie.
Yeah.
That's touched upon, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but comparing this movie to the Joker, I know a lot of people were saying that movie was going to put ideas in other people's heads, and where people would actually know how to act out and do things. So
and that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to see it, because I did not support that.
Yeah, but overall, from what I heard, at least nothing really came of that. So, and that seemed to be even more extreme in the case of the Joker. So when it comes to this movie, I don't really see that happening, at least not too much.
Right. I mean, I can't wait for next month. Marvel gets their own Batman, Morbius, and he's a hell of a lot cooler than this Batman.
Well, I thought you'd be looking forward to Doctor Strange more.
Oh, that too. That too.
I'm looking more forward to Doctor Strange more than Morbius.
Yeah. Well.
Oh yeah, Doctor Strange, my number one. After seeing the previews for Moon Knight, that's my number two right now.
Yeah.
Again, of course, Morbius is going to be great.
Of course, Doctor Strange is my number one.
I would hope so.
Yeah. I'm very strange.
Right. Is there anything else you guys want to add?
Yeah, just overall, I would say with this movie, I personally, I enjoyed it for what it was. You can't really compare it to how the comics were, the previous Batman. If you did, you'll go through it with a certain filter, a certain lens.
Mm-hmm.
If you go through this movie with a blank slate, I think you'll find some enjoyment in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a fanboy's dream come true. It disappointed me. It did hold better than what I thought it would.
Yeah.
I mean, because the trailers,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is just awful.
Yeah.
Do I really even want to see it? I just saw it so I can just debate you on it, guys.
Yeah, when I saw the trailer, I'm like, I don't like this new mystery Zodiac type of thing, but after seeing it, I thought that it was fine. I thought it was a good enthralling mystery. I thought it had some suspense. It did keep me on my toes. For the most part, I didn't see what was coming, except for after a while I figured out how the Riddler's involved, but other than that, yeah. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and rate the movie? So out of 5 stars, I think I would give it a 4.
I'm just going back and forth between my ratings now because I liked some parts of the movie. I really did. But I mean, it was more in terms of the actions of the Commissioner Gordon and Alfred. I'll give it 3.5.
3.5. Jerry?
Yeah, overall, it was, to me, an enjoyable movie. I definitely appreciate Darren's criticisms, especially when it comes, through the lens of an actual fan of Batman, through the comics and the other movies.
Yeah.
But as it was, just like looking at it as an independent film, I thought it was decently enjoyable. I would give it personally a 4.5. It kept my interest. There was a lot of shocking moments that surprised me that kept pulling me back into it. So I'd say if you don't have like too strong of an attachment to the comic book Batman, if you just want to go to see a interesting movie, a more like detective, darker movie, I would say this would definitely be a movie for you.
But they actually interviewed Robert Pattinson, and they asked him what was his favorite Batman, and he referred to the cartoons, Batman.
The animated series?
Yeah, Batman the animated series, but it was that segment that they did on Phantasm.
Oh,
Batman,
Mask of the Phantasm?
Yeah, Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh, the movie Mask of the Phantasm.
That's what he likes. So I'd be interested to actually see that and to see if he incorporated any of that into how he played Batman.
Yeah, like I can already picture a scene now where he's telling a character, what will vengeance solve? Because that's something I think he thinks about.
And was the Phantasm all about vengeance too? I
yes,
thought,
yes, I would say yes.
And the reason why it was his favorite, well, he was 9-year-old. He was 9 years old at the time, and that basically was his favorite cartoon there. But I mean, since then there was so many different Batmans in the movies. For him to refer to a cartoon and to play this iconic role in a movie, I kind of find that kind of strange.
Not me. I mean, whatever.
I haven't seen it, so I can't really say. So
yeah, but he's a strange guy anyhow. Yeah, but not as strange as Doctor Strange.
All right. Well, we had an interesting discussion on the Batman. So if you have seen the movie, what did you think? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle? Tell us what you thought, and also please check out some other movie reviews. A few years ago, I did do movie reviews on some of the older Batman movies, if you want to check that out. And of course, we've done all kinds of superhero movies, especially this last year with the Suicide Squad. Of course, Spider-Man, The Eternal. So please feel free to check all those videos out, and we do appreciate you guys watching these videos, and hopefully you enjoyed our discussion. We wouldn't be doing these videos if it wasn't for you guys watching. We appreciate all of you viewers and subscribers. Thank you. So again, we've got Darren and Jerry. Thank you guys for coming over.
Of course.
No problem.
Always a great time.
I just needed to bat you. My God.
All right, and thank you guys for watching. Darren, Jerry, what the heck?
I couldn't resist. I'm a Marvel fan. We're Marvel fans, right? Yeah.
Definitely.
I like your Carnage shirt, by the way.
Thank you, and you make an amazing Darren Strange.
Thank you.
Whatever.
But don't stay in the shadows too long, because there's much more of the multiverse to come on R&B Reviews. Have a mystical, magical night.